So, yeah, apparently we're ready. So I'm going to hand it over to you because I don't, yeah, there you go. Okay. This is us. We are confused as always. Here you go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Susan Garcia Nikolova, and I am your church council chair. So usually I'm old. Oops, I dropped this. Hold on. Okay. Usually I'm old school and I have paper, but my printer broke. So I'm going to have to be a little bit more modern now. Although I am going to Walmart after to get a printer. So, yeah, I am. So, all right. So, we have a lot of stuff that we need to share with you this evening. So let's go ahead and open in prayer. So please pray with me. Dear Lord, as we gather in your presence this evening, we seek your guidance in our deliberations, sharing of information, and decisions. May your wisdom shine upon us. Lead us along the path so that our actions and choices reflect your will. We thank you for the privilege of coming together as a church family this evening. Bless our meeting, all those that are present, no matter whether in person or online, and grant us the discernment to make choices that honor your name. Amen. All right, so we're going to start off on our agenda, and for those of you that are committee chairs that I emailed you an agenda in advance, we're going to switch it up a little bit because we added something to it. So Richard's going to go first and talk to us about attendance.
Thanks. Good evening, everybody. Oh, try it again. Good evening, everyone. Small but mighty, that's what we're looking for, and hopefully you are with us online as well. We're glad to have you with us, being able to do that. I know there's people actually from other states that are joining us tonight, so that is awesome to hear. Did want to talk a little bit about attendance. So we're going to have some numbers that are going to pop up on the screen as we go through this little journey of saying where are we at right now in 2024. And so this is through August 2024 versus 2023. So you'll see the number on the left, 34,901 versus 37,005 last year, which means a decrease of 2,104 year to date, which is about a 5.7% decrease in attendance. Last year we ran an 8.8% increase. We'll talk about this in just a moment. I divided that by the number of weeks that we've had on the year, which means about 62 per week on average over the course of the year. Let's go ahead and take it next slide. Look. Because what I did was I broke it down. One of my roles, the responsibilities as senior pastor, is to be able to look at things and to be able to analyze them so that we can try and interpret together. What I did was I went and looked and said, is that consistent throughout the year, or is that something that is not consistent throughout the year? It is not consistent throughout the year. So I ended up breaking it down. What happened was up until April, that was the numbers. So we had 19,102 in attendance versus 19,113 in attendance. We were down 11 at the end of April, 0.0006%, because I wanted to put all those zeros in there just to say how we were tracking, which was 0.61 attendees per week. What happened in late April, May? Is the question that sort of rose to my mind. And what happened was the vote took place. So the vote at General Conference happened. And more than likely, this is not the end-all be-all. I can't say that that is what it is, but the timing is rather aligned with that moment, that when that vote took place, we lost some people that have not come back. And so I ended up breaking the numbers down to say not only January to May, let's look at from May 1st through the end of August. And this is more like what our numbers are looking like. 15,443 this year versus 17,892. So you see the big decreases since the time that the vote was taken, all right? Which is about 142 attendees per week, all right? So that's not, I'm not averaging out over the year. I'm saying, what does it look like since the time that happened, that vote took place? What's the impact to the church? Jeremy and I have looked at this. The vast majority, guys, are from the early service. Our early service has been struggling. And if you attend the early service, you've seen the numbers have been a little bit lower than what you would normally expect. So it looks like the majority are there. Contemporary is pretty stable, and traditional's down a little bit, but the biggest impact has been to the early service since that time. Are there other things that could have impacted this? Absolutely, over the course of the year. I was talking with Kathy, who's in here somewhere, I think. I don't know where she's at. There she is. So she was like brainstorming with me, trying to figure out different things that it could be. One of the things she did raise up was like our graduating classes, which is reflective, sadly, of a moment from 2017, that move up of the children's into the youth that I've talked about in the past, that we had an impact that something decimated our children's ministry with the arrest of our children's minister. That has fed up all the way now. The 7 years puts the 12th graders at like this past year, and you don't have the same level of participation. So you're not getting some of those moments where all those students come in and we're celebrating a graduation and their parents are present. That's a smaller impact, though. The reality is we're struggling week to week to week to week. It's not just special events in terms of our attendance. So that is not a fun thing to talk about, but it is a real thing to talk about, and my job is to talk to you about the real stuff. So that is what we're facing in terms of attendance right now. I also want to lift up, in light of that vote, I did say that we would talk with trustees and say what would the trustees allow in terms of marriages on the campus, and I want to let you know that they voted to allow LGBTQ marriages on campus. So that is now an approved thing, that if somebody asks to be able to have their marriage here at the church, Jeremy would be open to performing those marriages so that would happen on the campus if that was requested. As I explained last time, the vast majority of marriages ain't on this campus at all. Everybody wants to get married off campus, on the beach, or by a lakeside. I remember one I was doing, it was lakeside, and you don't think of stuff, right? It's just like, I just want the venue. There was seaplanes, like seaplanes on it, and we're trying to do his wedding, like it's an airplane just flying over top of me. And so even you get into the center of the state and you try and get away from the noise, you end up finding out you picked a lake that happened to have seaplanes. So a lot of the marriages are off campus. Just want to let you know where we are in terms of our attendance. What will I be looking for moving forward? I will be looking at saying, if this is another one of these dips, sort of like we had the COVID dip, what does it look like as we proceed from moving forward? What does it look like as we come into next year? So it's going to be very important for us to be looking and saying, what's the impact long term? Is it something that's causing this to continue to happen? In which case it's not any longer just that issue. So we have to look honestly at the whole ministries of the church and say, well, it ain't just that. So we would be addressing it. But hopefully what we get is we're looking at next year, 1 year from May, that we're starting to see the numbers starting to come back up. So that would be a natural, from my perspective, a natural sort of transition moment. I also talked last time in terms of percentages of what the Methodist Church was facing, with 30 to 35% of churches leaving the Methodist Church in the Florida Conference. And if we're running a 10, 12, 13%, somewhere around there, hit from the moment of the vote, we've actually come through pretty well. It's not what I would want. I would want nobody to leave. I would want us to be able to say we can stay in love and charity and ministry together. But unfortunately, that has not happened with all of us. And I literally, for the people I've sat down with, we bless one another of saying, I hope the best for you as you search for your new church home. And they ask for the best for Anona as they're leaving. It's just a difficult circumstance. And I get it. So that's where we're at in terms of attendance. Everybody say yay. Yeah. All right. Oh, yes, absolutely. So I'm going to repeat the question because we're online right now. So I'm being asked whether that includes online attendance. It does. All right, so when we're doing attendance, the attendance is the criteria for how you do attendance is determined by the Methodist Church. So we do track online attendance and we track in-person attendance for each worship service. And then what happens is because you can watch online for more than Sunday morning, part of that process is you get a whole week. So until Saturday midnight, whatever the time is that Kathy happens to check it, not at midnight. So Kathy's one who tracks the online attendance. She would get the registration of like, here's the people who attended on Sunday morning, and then we add to that anybody who views online from the time that the service happens until the end of that Saturday. Can people keep watching after that time? Yes, but they would not be counted towards attendance because it logistically would be a nightmare. Great question, thank you. Any other questions? Yeah. You can tell your background. So the different churches, different things. All right. So a church, if you had a largely progressive church already, so I would give the example of Orlando. St. Luke's. St. Luke's, very progressive church, probably not having the same impact there, versus a completely traditional church. Some of them left, some of them stayed, but they're still struggling. So I think it's different for each one. I would say because of what we were trying to do and what I feel, largely accomplished, was trying to bring everybody along and saying that traditional and progressive people can worship together. I'm very pleased with our congregation, with the heart that they've had to be able to say we can walk this together. And if we lose 10%, it hurts, but it's not horrible. I don't know how to say that better. I just think each church is different. I think it's a good question, but I think each church is different. Some churches are closing. By the way, Presbyterian Church up the street. Christ Presbyterian on Dreyer, is it Dreyer? Called me up asking if we wanted to buy their property, right? Because they are closing and they aren't going through the same circumstances as we are. Churches are struggling right now to be able to survive. And matter of fact, I just was speaking with some people, 3 different churches, and one of theirs is struggling and trying to decide if they're going to stay open. So we're in a time or an era where church is not exactly on the plate of popularity and involvement for all the population the way it was in the past. Any other questions? Yeah. I hear you. So the question is, are we thinking about combining the 2 traditional services? All I can say is I would not take anything off the table. If you think of the stretch for choirs right now, for the 2 things, we're of a mind of saying let's watch as we go along. And you know me, I'm going to be transparent if things are going along, but we have to be honest in terms of what we're experiencing right now. The combination of the decline since May, the addition of that to what is happening culturally. More importantly for me is actually the drive forward. We always have to hold on to the dream of the thing that pulls us forward and saying, what are we about when it comes to the next generation? How is it that we get people to say that, it's important for my children to be raised in the Christian faith, that they get Christian culture, that they understand what it means to love one another. I was meeting with a family ministry today after our staff meeting and wrestling with thoughts like the social media. It's getting down. Where's Jackie? There you go. Jackie was bringing this up with Ridgecrest. They're struggling with the social media impact all the way down now to elementary school. So it just keeps filtering down where fights are happening off campus. So they get off campus, and then the fight starts off campus where the school can't intervene because of social media issues that are happening. at elementary age. So it just keeps filtering down. For me, the church is more important now than it was probably 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And how do we convey that message? So we were wrestling as a team with what does that look like? How can we get word out to families that we have resources here at the church? We have resources in terms of partnerships with different organizations, and that we're going to be working on saying what can we do in order to invite parents into those conversations, trying to identify what are the things that they're wrestling with right now. And I think as I was driving back from hospital visits this afternoon, New York Times had an article right up about it, about parents and the struggle that parents are going through right now. And the list it's different than when I was a parent and different than when you were a parent. Well, not you, because you are a parent right now. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin's up here going, no, it's real. It's real right now. It's real right now. I got three kids, and they haven't even hit middle school yet. So there's lots of challenges that we're facing. But back to your question, adapting to the circumstances is something we have to be honest and open about. Is there a possibility that if the early service attendance was so significantly down, we'd have to wrestle with, is that something we have to do? So very good question as well. All right.
All right. Well, all I have to say is I love Anona. I know you guys do too. I mean, don't you? It's great. All right. So next we're going to hear from Kevin, and he's going to talk to us about one of our favorite subjects, finance, and he'll be talking to us about budget and giving.
This conversation is much more fun than the last conversation.
We like budget and finance.
All right. So Richard got to give you the bad news about attendance being down. The good news is year over year, our giving is actually up. Through July, we've received we have just under 1.3 million of giving.
There you go. There's your numbers.
All right, there's my numbers. Thank you, which is more than that we've budgeted so far this year, which is great. Always like that positive. The big deal, though, is we are ahead of that budget and have received so much because a very, 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 very generous member of the congregation donated some highly appreciated stock to the tune of $222,000 earlier this year.
Yes, let's say thank you for that.
Yes. So the takeaway from that is, if, say, you bought Apple stock in 1990 and still own it and would like to make a gift to the church, that's a tax-free gift. Nobody pays capital gains on that. So that does not constitute financial advice. Please contact your tax advisor or financial advisor. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay.
I actually am a financial planner,
that's
so I'm
why
not offering financial advice. I'm just kind of saying what the end. Additionally, over the last 2 years, the Finance Committee and the church, we've worked together to try to better utilize the cash that we have on hand. So year to date, we've also had $59,000 worth of interest that's been paid to us on bonds, CDs, and other cash instruments. So that all that interest, we are counting that as giving towards our operating budget. So just being able to use the money that we have better is generating towards that, being ahead of budget so far year to date.
Go ahead and put that screen back up. He can walk through that one as well. There you go.
Yeah, so our total receipts is no, that's not the right number.
Yeah, 1299 is total.
Oh, sorry, sorry. I said we are ahead of budget, but we are not ahead of our expenses. So right now, our expenses are slightly ahead of our giving and to our budget. Some of that is just seasonality. We don't try to break out that, this specific expense is going to hit in, April. We spread it across the year. So I'm still very hopeful that receipts will get us past the actual.
I'll say actually a big chunk of that is transition moments that are happening. So, Elisa has retired and we brought a new person on, but Elisa has still been present quite a bit the past several months, trying to get that person to have the stuff that's in her head actually be able to be implanted on a piece of paper somehow for that new person who's David that we introduced at our last all-church meeting. So he's been having to have some overlap time with her. That's an expense when you're paying two people for the same position, obviously. And we have also had a little bit of that when it comes to the worship department as well. I think, is there one more slide or two more slides?
How many more slides?
I can't remember how many slides we had.
Okay, yes, so then back to versus last year. I think with the exception of 1 month, we've received more giving every month this year versus last year. And I think that is just Easter was Easter in a different month this year than last. So thank you to everybody who has possibly, increased their contributions or, tried to make up for if they saw a friend maybe not there anymore, but we're doing okay right now. So back to if you would like to do more, for anybody who is over 70 and a half, you are able to give your required minimum distribution to the church up to $100,000 tax-free. So you don't pay taxes, they don't pay taxes. So if you have reached that glorious age where the government is telling you have to take money out of your retirement accounts, you can give some of that directly to the church, and everybody can save on taxes. So again, this is not financial advice.
We should probably have that like a rolling on the screen underneath. He has to say that because he's a financial advisor.
Okay.
Is there any more slides?
All right.
On that one? Nope.
Okay. Any questions about the finances so far? Fantastic.
So on the good news side of that, even if you subtract out the investments and the gift, we're actually, as he's explaining, we're a little bit ahead in terms of giving compared to last year. So, yay. It is good.
Great.
Yes.
See, finance can be fun. Right? And we do have a great finance committee and how they look at the money and making sure that it's being used or I don't want to say invested well for us. So bravo to you guys for that. All right, next we're going to hear from Debbie and Richard about trustees. We're going to be talking about the new bus and the decals and the wrapping that's going to go on it, the roofing project in Wesley Hall, choir room, and the hallway.
Good evening, and I see some of my fellow trustees out in the audience. Yay, guys. We're always busy. There's always something breaking. There's always something we have to fix. But this year, we've accomplished the roof replacement finally over Wesley Hall. We are addressing the choir room, which should be done within the next, I think, 30 days if the weather cooperates. So that'll all be taken care of.
It's cooperating very much right now. Yeah. It's like hardly raining at all.
At all. We are replacing also an air conditioning unit, I believe, when we...
You can put the picture up on the screen.
Yes. So all of that will be taken care of, hopefully within the next 30 days. We finally received our bus that we were only waiting for since, I think, before COVID.
It was almost 2 years trying to get that bus.
Yeah, it was quite a challenge. But what we're hoping to do is, if we remember or recall the painting project down in the Narthex, we're looking to do that on our bus. So you will see pictures. There it is. So you'll see the bus driving around town for Anona. It'll catch somebody's eye, so we're excited about that. And hopefully we'll have a quiet fall, that there won't be too many things breaking, and we can address things as they...
Though we did have a flood this past week.
We did.
We did have.
Well, did we find the leak?
We think so.
Okay.
So when that big rain deluge happened, we didn't have a leak. But something happened. We ended up with they might still be blowing today. They were earlier today. But if you go back to the children's ministry lobby area, it flooded to about a ½ inch thick all the way through that area into the offices. And the cleaning crew that came in at like 1 o'clock in the morning said, "Scott, you have a problem." And they've had to have a team come in and suck all that up. Here's, if you want to hear the thought. Are you ready,
go ahead.
Trustees Chairperson?
Go ahead.
We're thinking that the lever on the men's urinal. I knew it was the men. I knew it was the men.
So we've been concerned about the water bill for a while.
That's different.
Oh, okay.
That's different. So there's been a water leak that caused our water bill it was 1.6 gallons per minute, I believe, flow that we could not find for over a month and a half. And we think we have found said leaks over in the chapel building. Imagine that, the oldest part of the building. That we think we have found that. Last time we did a reading, it was not bleeding out as quick, and nonetheless, we have 2 very, very high water bills for 2 months.
And we'll be able to recover some of the sewer charges, not the water charge, but the sewer charge once we can prove that we did have a leak. So it was a men's urinal that was running that, okay.
Maybe it was the women's.
Maybe, okay, all right. So that's it for trustees, I think. Are we done? Okay.
Thanks, Debbie.
That was fun. Okay, next we're going to hear from our SPRC/worship. So Molly and Jeremy are going to come on up, and they're going to talk to us about a new candidate for ministry, which is exciting, and also some worship staffing updates.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm Molly Schaaf from Staff Parish, and I have a few things. Nothing as exciting as leaks or anything like that. Yeah, no. Yeah, who knew you'd say that word in a church meeting?
I know.
But, so we have several things going on. I believe that we have mentioned before Adam Balduff, who was a local pastor in Georgia and attends Anona now and is interested in affiliating with us in our conference as a local pastor, which would give him the opportunity to preach occasionally, and he will be preaching in October, so watch for that. And he and his wife currently are doing mission work in Nicaragua, which they will be continuing to do, but he would have the option of, or we would have the option and enjoy hearing from him to preach occasionally at Anona. So Staff Parish is going to invite him to a Staff Parish meeting so we can chat with him and get to know him a little better and talk about that. So that is a bit of good news. September Staff Parish meetings will concern ourselves with staff and pastor raises, trying to keep up with cost of living, that sort of thing. And so we've got some work cut out for us then. The process there is that we recommend raises to the Finance Committee, and then it goes from there. So it's not just Staff Parish that makes those decisions. Jeremy is going to talk about some music department updates, and before he does, I just want to thank him very much for all the hard work he's put into the music department after Mitch left and before Mitch left, and it's wonderful to come to church on Sunday and hear that choir and know that they're in good hands.
So before he comes, I want to talk about Adam for just a minute because you haven't had a chance to be able to meet him yet. But he does come from South Georgia. In the Methodist Church, you can't transfer your credentials as a local pastor from one conference to the other. And so he can transfer his certification, his candidacy for ministry, but he can't transfer from one conference to the other and say that he is a local pastor. So he's going through that process now with the district. And so we're going to be celebrating that. I'll have him up the week before he preaches. The reason he is preaching is because he's having to go through the process again, and he's going to have a videoed sermon to be able to present to the interview committee for him to become a local pastor. That all make sense? So Adam and Jen are wonderful. He serves with an organization that ministers to missions for Nicaragua. She is a travel nurse. So right now they're up in, I think, Virginia, together with travel nursing, and he flies all over the country, and he flies down to Nicaragua, but should be back in October for us to be able to celebrate him. So when he does come, I'd encourage you to find a moment just to shake his hand and welcome him. And if you get to see his wife at the same time, they're just an awesome couple. Jeremy.
Can take this thing off while I stand here. I am not contagious. I am past that cycle. But I do want to say thank you guys for your prayers. It was a rough week last week. First time I've been down for a whole week with something. And Kim and I both were out for a little while on that. So today is my first day back, so go easy on me. And if I fall asleep up here, just talk amongst yourselves or do something. But I do want to inform you about some staff changes in our worship ministry, and then just in general with our worship ministry this next season. We have 2 staff changes that some of you might be aware of or maybe not. One is our director of traditional worship, Mitch. He is no longer with us. We worked, when he came on board, trying to bring him on board and adjusting to Anona, and he adjusting to us, and we adjusting to him. And at the end of the day, we came to the conclusion it just was not a good fit. Was not a good fit for us as a church, not good fit for him and for what he was looking for. So he is no longer with us. He is in process for searching for his next. The second person I want to let you know of is actually a retirement. Penny Kolba has been with us now for, I think, 25 years or more in our music office there, and has made the decision that she's at the life stage that she would like to retire and to move into this next chapter in her life, whatever that is. So we will be missing her as well, but she will be with us through the end of October. So one of the things that Rich and I were talking about, when every time you have a staff change, especially with a couple of positions like that, that's that opportunity to look at the department and say, what is best for the needs now of the church? Realizing that, that there have been different needs over the decades and years. Where are the needs now and what will work best? One of the things for me that was kind of an aha moment when I was reflecting on this, for probably about the past 8 years now, we've been attempting the model of what's called the one director does it all, the one ring to rule them all, if you are a fan of some movies there. But really we had one person that did everything. They played organ, they played piano, they directed the choirs, they did bar mitzvahs, you name it. And what we realized is after, I think now 4 attempts of finding that right person, we've not been successful in finding a long-term solution that worked. We found one, but we couldn't retain him. It just was far too expensive. And so the reality we looked at and said, okay, for me, that's that old definition of insanity. What is insanity? We do the same thing over and over again, but you're going to expect a different answer every time. And so I sat on this and sat with Richard and said, maybe this is time for us to look at this differently. That model obviously is not working at this life stage in our church. And so we're actually moving forward with a different staffing model in our worship ministry. Rather than having one person that simply does everything, we're looking at a team model. That means we diversify the roles amongst several people. Not any one person is doing it all. And we're hoping for some redundancy and overlap so that different individuals can help share the responsibilities so when people are out, that can be covered. So part of that involves me coming back in as overall worship head. So my role is envisioning setting with it, and I'll be directing a few of the groups, probably 1 or 2, depending on how the schedules roll there. But my role is really to kind of help set the vision and pace for the department. Then we'll be looking for a person to come on board that could be one of 2 things. They will definitely need some strong organ and piano skills, because quite honestly, that ain't a gift of mine. But that is something that we do need here. And so whether we have a person that has only those skill sets, or maybe they have those skill sets in addition to maybe doing some leadership but not running the entire department, maybe they lead a choir or 2, is a possibility. In addition, we're looking at having a very part-time position for someone to help work with launching children. You all know that children are essential in the life of our church. That is our future, folks, and we need to continue to get back to that. In our music ministry, sadly, we've not been able to do that for the past several years. That's important, and we need to get back to it. And so we're going to be looking for a part-time position to bring on someone to help relaunch a grade school choir, as well as what we're calling an intergenerational choir. This was started by one of our previous predecessors, where it was a mixture of both youth and adults. Because with our youth, just as Richard shared, we don't have the numbers yet in youth to do its own musical group, but we have the ability to partner with youth and adults as a bridge until we reach that point in the church. And so we'd be looking at a part-time person for there, as well as in the office to help what Penny's been doing so beautifully for so many years. We're going to celebrate her in October, so make sure you're here in late October before she retires. We're going to be lifting her up well. But one of the changes in that position is I'm looking for someone not just to come in and to help with all of the administrative duties and the libraries. I need someone that can also substitute for me, that there are Sundays I will not be here, whether I'm sick with COVID or hopefully, more importantly, camping. That's what I would prefer to be doing, as I was supposed to be doing this past weekend. But to have someone that can step in and support that, not that they would be a fully trained director and come in and have all the skills and sets needed for that. The person I best describe it as, and many of you all know the person, is the Sandy Drugash. If some of you all remember Sandy, she's a beloved person in this church, retired a few years ago. She would direct one of our choirs. She is not a director, and she will tell you that herself. That was not her training in college. I always laughed at her and told her it was interpretive dancing instead of directing. But she had the heart for connecting with people and leading music in such a beautiful way. And that's what we need on the team as well. We need the ability for the person working with children to have piano skills so they can help cover for the organist if they need a break or a Sunday off. I need someone to step in for me when I'm not able to be with a particular choir or group there. So what we're looking at doing is diversifying in several smaller positions to have this team roll out from here. Now we're in process for looking for those. We've had a couple candidates that we've looked at, none yet at this point that I'm confident to say that yes, we've got a solution and we're moving forward, except for one. I will say we've got one that we're very excited about in the music office, and so the new position as Penny retires, coming into that position is Maureen Livers, and we are very glad to have her. I don't think she's here tonight, but she is just the right person at the right time to come on board with that. So she's already started catching up with Penny on music office, and then I'll be working with her on the what we call the Sandy duties, so we can figure those parts out. And then in addition, we'll be looking for those other positions as well. I'm going to ask for a little grace for these next few weeks and months with y'all and with the choir. I've rewritten our fall plans 3 times now in the past 3 weeks, and I may have to rewrite them again because things change. We might have a different substitute coming in. We might have a different interim come in. Okay, we got to adapt because X, Y, Z. So we've got to be a little nimble going forward, guys. And so that means we've got to kind of make some adaptations. And we're not going to be able to fully do everything I hope to begin, but know that that is our heart and intention as we will get there. So stay with me in that and know that in this journey, our goal is to get back to the vibrant, exciting, passionate, and just inspiring music that we all know and love. It may just take a little bit more journey for us to get to that place fully. And I appreciate you with me on that. So that's our staffing update, as well as kind of our worship update. So one word update for worship, transition. Oh, questions. Sorry. Any questions?
I guess they don't.
The way I tell my choir is when they are well behaved, make sure you tell everyone out in public that you're from Anona, and when you're not, you're from Indian Rocks.
They are a Church of Jesus Christ. However, they don't have a choir. Just saying. I want to do a couple things from what Jeremy just said. One, he was supposed to be camping this weekend. We didn't do this on purpose, but I was in the campground that he was going to be camping at, the same site. So it was going to be me checking out on Friday with him checking in on Friday from the same site. So I was going to dig pits so that his camper would get stuck. Not really. Actually, here's the stuff. I want to lift up Penny for 25 years of serving this church. She has been a gift in so many ways, and to just lift her up for who she is. I do celebrate Maureen coming in. I think she will be wonderful taking in that role and also being able to direct in sort of like the old Sandy Drugash type of role. I also want to lift up Jeremy. His first day back today was spent in his office by his own choice, sort of, because he is now a member of the Board of Ordained Ministry for the Florida Conference of the United Methodist Church. And so he was having a training event with them. So he's been recognized. What I love to hear this. That means the conference has seen him, knows his work, values who he is, sees him in terms of leadership, and they see what we see. And so for him to be able to be invited into that, the only sad side to that is it's a 12-year position. I'm not joking. It is 4 quadrenniums. So you do 4 at a time. Oh, sorry. Can you scratch that part off the video, Jonathan? So just to lift up Jeremy, guys, we just such good people with Penny in the music department, Jeremy and Maureen now coming in. It is wonderful.
That is great news. All right, so as you all know, we worship serve and grow and serve. So we're ready to move on to our grow portion, and it's going to, oops, I almost poked myself in the eye. It's going to be Richard. It's you.
It's me.
It's you. You're going to be talking about a series in conjunction with the district Disciples Path and the Advent series, all ages, multi-generational.
All right. So we do have a couple of exciting things that are happening in terms of our growth opportunities here at the church. One, I want to lift up our Disciple 3 class that moved to earlier today in order to be here tonight. So if you're in the Disciple 3 class, I know there's a few of you here, put your hand up. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? Disciple, if you have not taken Disciple, I really want to lift that up. It is such a powerful thing, not just in terms of understanding of the Bible, but the community that you form in the midst of it. So I want to say thank you to Lisa and her spouse for leading this and making it possible for us to have Disciple ongoing at this church. That's been going for decades, and it's just awesome to see. So that's one thing I want to celebrate. The other is the class that Susan was just talking about, the Disciples Path, and that's going to be in conjunction with the entire conference. So Bishop Berlind asked if we wouldn't do as a entire conference a study that would focus on Methodist understandings, Methodist theology, Methodist beliefs, and actually put that together to where all the churches are doing the same thing in terms of a class and a sermon series. So starting on October 6th, we will be having that run. That is the one where Adam will be in one of those. So his mission heart, he's going to be focusing on the serving part for his sermon. Our district superintendent will be coming for one of those. So we'll have Emily Hotho here for one of those. So it'll just be a wonderful celebration of different preachers for the series as we're talking about our Methodist history and hopefully legacy being able to move forward. Then we have our series that will be happening in the Advent season. And so that's an unlikely Advent, which is interesting because you're going to be looking at some of the characters that sometimes don't get looked at. The one that interested me most out of this study was we're actually going to be looking at Herod for one of the Sundays. And I've not done that for a Christmas series before. Can't remember who's preaching on that particular Sunday, but fun to them because it's something different to be able to talk about Herod and his story and how does he fit into the Christmas story. So we're excited about that. That will also have the intergenerational opportunity for folks to be able to have their kids or grandkids in a study that's for them. The youth would be with their group, and then we would have the adults and young adults together as a group. Normally we're in 110. And our last series that we did, where are we at? So the summer series, that was our largest attended, which is weird when you think about it. Our summer series attendance for that class, intergenerational class, was larger than any of the ones we've done previously over the major holidays. So as a trajectory, that is worth lifting up. That's neat to see that even over the summer when you would think attendance was down, that class group was larger than Christmas or Lent season. So that was something to celebrate. You're back on again.
I'm back. It was like was it poltergeist? I shouldn't say that in here. Okay.
It's okay, we said urinal in here.
That's
too.
right. That's right. All that can be edited out. All right, so we're ready to move on to our serve portion, and Jackie's going to come up and talk to us about that, and that's always fun and exciting stuff.
Yes, always fun. Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. I'll stand. So we've had a very, very busy summer. You know, I always think that a lot of churches have downtime in the summer, not around here. So just to reflect a little bit on that, we had the missions team, the youth missions team went out into the community this summer. And I just want to share that how well received they were. All of our different partner agencies, and actually they worked with Molly for So for Kids. They were just so engaged and worked so hard, and I had folks from our partner agency reach out to me and just stress that they really were impressed with our youth and how well they did their job and how engaged they were. So I think that's just a great reflection of the quality of our youth program. So that was a great thing over the summer. Our food drive was a huge success. I think most of you know we raised over 1.5 tons of food. But I think the most exciting thing was that it went out a little further beyond our walls this year, and we had a group from Pinecrest. The Pinecrest worshipers got involved and got their whole building involved and participated in that. So I love to see when we can take our our love for missions and serving out into the community. That was a wonderful time. And we also did very well with the Molly's Dolly's Drive with the young adults kind of spearheading that. So those were two big things in July I thought were great. We had a wonderful turnout at the Shiloh Strings performance, and we were a part of the Y, welcoming kids back to school in the Ridgecrest neighborhood. So those were all wonderful things that happened over the summer. So September, we're heading into fall. We have kids ministry this month in September are learning about helping their peers at the children's home, now called Residing Hope. So the kids are all collecting birthday boxes that they have a list of things. They can go home and work with their families to fill these little boxes and bring back to Miss Bonnie, and we're going to be delivering those to Residing Hope. We also will be launching the little bit new version of Change for Change. So it's going to be changed up where all of the youth, not just a particular grade, it will be contributing to that and in being involved. And we're pretty excited because now we're seeing some kids from different age groups that want to get involved and participate. So we're sort of leaning towards that'll change into the sort of missions arm of the youth ministry. So very excited about that new launch of Change for Change. That's coming up in September too. This week we have a mentor lunch. What we're doing is working with other churches. So Shiloh, we're also working with Faith Tampa Bay, which we have worked with J.P. Klaus before, the Y, and other churches in the Ridgecrest community to really pour into Ridgecrest Elementary School. They have historically had challenges. We are seeing more and more challenges. Their principal is wonderful and really trying to see what we can do to support them, engage parents, really make it truly one school with two programs instead of having the division within the school that they've had historically. So it's nice to see everybody working as a group to do that, and part of that is to help raise awareness of the needs, get more mentors, but also work as the community to pour into that school. So that's exciting this month, and we're seeing traction with that. You have probably heard about Sunday Fun Day coming up on the 15th. That is also going to be a big launch of our Pack-a-Sack program, so that is up and running as we head into the school year. The kids really love to do this, but we want to give the adults a chance too. It's really a fun thing, so it's worth while sticking around, doing Pack-a-Sack with us. Come have breakfast with us that day, and then we'll also have some resources for parents and just a time of fellowship. We're seeing with the all ages studies, there's just such a value and so much enjoyment with doing things as a community, all of us together versus separately age-wise. So this is one of those opportunities to do that all ages are invited, and we hope you come out and enjoy that. October is, of course, our Halloween Town, and you'll see on most of the promotions this year, it's Halloween Town Cans for Candy. We're really trying to get the community to realize they can bring canned goods and help us with our collection. So you'll see a little bit of a language change around that, and we're also having the schools really try and push that out to their school community so that when parents and families come, they can feel like that they participate in helping those that really need it. So you'll see that coming up of October. We're also very excited. We're going to have a visit from Pastor Michael, who is the pastor at Cardenas Church in Cuba, but he's also the DS for the Matanzas district. So we're really excited he's going to get to come, and you'll hear maybe a little bit from him during October too. November, this is just, we're not busy here at all, are we? So November, we are doing, usually in November we don't do a big missions thing because we're busy in the big church doing stewardship, but we thought it would be fun for the kids to lead us in something. One of the things I think I talked to you about the last church meeting is very intentional things we're doing with the kids at different developmental ages that really get them excited about missions that are specific for their developmental stage. So, for example, the little kids are supporting things to do with Residing Hope, which is their peers. Another thing that they've loved doing that they want to bring and share to the big church is collecting pop tops, right? Very easy, right? Can tops, they collect those. They're going to then take those to somewhere that benefits Ronald McDonald House. So that'll be a fun thing in November that the kids are going to lead us in a very easy little project that we can all help out. So start collecting your pop tops now for that. And then, of course, December brings our missions tree that supports various partners we have in the church, but you'll see that it always goes up early. The tree is always up the Sunday before Thanksgiving because we have to collect everything and distribute that by mid-December. So, if you, if you're wanting to get what a lot of people say, oh, I wanted a name off the tree, or I wanted to get this, make sure you get there early that Sunday before Thanksgiving to get your tag that you want to support, and that'll be up for about 3 weeks before we collect everything in. So anyway, we are just busy as ever with missions, but I think the most exciting thing for me is this intentional things we're doing with the kids and the youth and young adults of really looking at how can we just develop that love for serving and love for helping others at their ages and stages, and share that for hopefully a lifelong love of doing that. But as always, we thank you. We've had a wonderful summer, and we just thank the whole congregation for their generosity and support of everything we do with missions. Yes. Yes. We actually haven't done that this time. We're going to wing it and just hope everybody comes out for it. We usually have plenty. So we're going to see how this, we didn't want that to be a barrier. We just want everybody to show up. We are going to ask everybody to come down the glass hallway and make sure that you pack a few sacks. That is going to be your payment for going into breakfast in Wesley Hall. Come and serve a little bit first, and then you can go eat. Any other questions? That is a really good question. I don't think it does. I think they will take it all because it's a recycling place that takes them. So yeah, I think that would be good. Any other questions? Pat? Oh, that's so sweet. And I'll tell you, I have a wonderful, wonderful team, and we have a wonderful staff. And, working with the family ministry team, they're very dedicated, and they will have worked with me as we've kind of gone through this and looked at how we can engage kids. So it's really just, the usual, it takes a village. And we have a wonderful staff here, and they're just a great missions team that helps me out. So thank you, though.
I would say it this way. What you witness when you see a person like Jackie, when you see a person like Marion or Bonnie or Megan, you take your pick of the program staff, what you're witnessing is a thing called calling. You're seeing a person that, yes, it's their job, but they always go beyond the job because they love what they do. And I still remember, we talk about this, well, I talk about it a lot more than you probably even know, but when I was becoming senior pastor, I had her role, right? And I was, one of my roles was missions director. I was doing 360. I was executive pastor here. I had multiple roles. And I was stepping into senior pastor role, and we were coming out of a missions meeting, and I walked out to her car with her, and I was like, Jackie, I don't know what it is, but I feel like you're called to work in the church. And she, before my eyes, melted into tears because that had been her prayer. She'd been praying that, I think she said, for like a month or two. She'd been, that's what I've been praying about for the past couple of months. And I followed that up with, I don't have anything for you to do yet. But and I went home that night, I'm like, idiot, you do have a thing for her to do. You're stepping into senior pastor role, and my heart is for missions. I would love to have, rather than somebody that has that as a side, as one of the jobs, that's the job that they do. And you've seen the fruit of what that looks like right there. And I could carry this over to any of the staff that we've got. I watch Kathy with her commitment level, or Jean with her commitment level. The engagement with what they do is over the top. It's nothing but beautiful. Malia and Shelley over at ACDC. I walked in there today, and just the smiles, the greetings that you get, they don't have to do that. But you watch them with every person that walks in the door. They love what they do because they're doing something that they're called into. So, yes, we do thank you. And I love how you steered it towards the whole team. It was beautiful. Yes, I'll shut up now.
No, that's fine. Well, not really, because we have one last item before we close our meeting in prayer, and it's going to be Richard again, so he's not going to be shutting up. And it's going to be ACDC. And it's looking at the building, the classroom, and the office project.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about, back during when COVID first struck, the very first all-church meeting we had over 1,000 people watch it online. And I said, imagine a playground over here that was a community playground, that we could have kids from the community come here, their families, they could be having birthday parties. Imagine what that would look like. And the imagination became a dream, the dream became a playground. That was because of one donor. One person said, that dream is my dream, and I want to make that happen. And they made it happen in conjunction with Jeremy having to do a lot of work, right? In order to get that accomplished. I want us to dream again. We're a church that is about every single age level, and we seek to try and address every group within this church. I'm thinking of like the Anona Visitation Ministry right now. That we're trying to make sure that folks that are homebound, that they're cared for, they're loved, that they know that they're still part of this family, and we've got people that will go and connect with them. We want to be thinking of those folks. We want to be thinking of people that are in the church that just love being here in general, and how do we help them to take the next step. In our history, you think of the remodel that we did in here. You think of the lobby, and remember that was headed up by Sandy Drugash, who we talked about a little bit earlier. She was the one who was coordinating all this stuff and getting these lights put in and helping us to have a beautiful worship center for our adult population. During the 150th anniversary, we didn't just build the playground, we redid the chapel conference room and turned it into, in essence, a second space for adults to be able to have a space that's like room 110 that has the technology in there for us to host classes for large groups of people. And I get to see all the people that are in there that walk out of that room, from AA groups to classes, that it changes lives, absolutely changes lives. And I want us to dream again. Even when you hear the attendance, if we don't have something that's out here that's pulling us forward, we stagnate. Or we freeze in fear and we say we can't move because. So what I want to talk a little bit about, I've talked about it in the past a little bit, but we've got drawings now that I want to share with you. This has been a dream that's been for a decade. I don't know, it's been for like forever. We've had multiple drawings done over the years. I'd like to take a first step. And that first step is to say, ACDC is doing a phenomenal job. Just phenomenal. And I want to give a shout out to Sandy, who's nodding her head, to Betty Ray. I don't know if there's others in here from, anybody else from your committee that are in the room right now? I'll give a shout out to Marion, but she's not here right now. She's probably over there working if I know her. The beauty of what they have created is just, it's real. It's real. I talked about it with the kids that are sitting outside of my office. They were there again today. Twice when I walked out. There's a little section of little boys that were sitting there one time waiting to go to the bathroom because the little girls were in the bathroom, and they had their Sonic shirts on, and they were twins, and they're talking to me about, I've got Sonic on, he's fast, and we were just a beautiful, beautiful moment. And then they're going in to be able to learn and to understand, and not just to learn about like knowledge here, but how do they treat one another. One of the great gifts that our preschool has is conscious discipline, and they teach kids how to relate in a way better than their parents sometimes. So when I met with their parents at the beginning of the school year, I said, your kids are going to be coming home and teaching you how to do conflict, because they're going to stop one time with you, and I had to teach them, because when they hear it, they'll now remember it. You need to be a star. Stop. Mommy, you need to stop and be a star, right? Because the kid's going to say that and say, be a star, stop, take a breath, and relax. Breathe with me, Mom. Breathe with me, Dad. You know, isn't that awesome to have kids that do that? We need to invest in those children, and we need to invest in that ministry of the church. The beauty is when we invest in that ministry, we're not just investing in that ministry, we're investing in the church, because some of those families end up becoming associated with us. Second, because those spaces become available for us to be able to use in the design for other children, whether it's Sunday program, and we're also going to be having some adult storage space where if we need to, we can put adults in the classrooms that we're going to be showing you. So let me show you just a few pictures of what we're looking to do. So here is the outside, and this is, if on the left there is the office for the preschool. To the right is the beginning of a building that would become 3 classrooms, and there's a little passageway that goes through there, and you're saying, that's all pretty, and I'm going to show you where it is in just a few moments. But that is the exterior part of the preschool office with classrooms. The next one's going to be looking from a courtyard view into that space. So if you can picture where the playground for the licensed care is right now, this building is wrapping around that playground. So it's along the back corner over here, back where the fire hydrant is and the lawnmower shed. You would be running along that back street and then going up the street that goes along the side of the education building. I'll have a top-down view for you in a moment. On the left, that building that is on the left is the aftercare program that we'd love to have a new space for the aftercare to be able to have space for them. Aftercare ministers to kids from K through 5th grade. And if you look at the space straight ahead, that's the 3 classrooms I was just talking about, and way tucked over in that corner would be where the office is, sort of beyond the 2 people on the right. And we got a way to be able to show you it from above so you get a little bit better orientation in terms of our campus. So right now you're in the lower left portion. This is in the upper right portion along the back street that goes along the pond. The first building up there, if you have the pointer, point at the office space. Thank you. So that would be the office space, and you can see it's right on the back side of Wesley Hall. And then if you go just north of that, you would have the 3 classrooms that we're talking about. And then to the left of that is the aftercare program that I was just discussing. Now, all told, I have no idea how much that cost. I can tell you what it cost right after COVID time, and it was insane. Remember when I was talking last meeting how everything cost $100,000? We're moving to the next level, all right? When we built this building, the lobby, Contemporary Worship Center, all the way connecting Wesley Hall across with all those classrooms around the outside and the youth room, that was a little over $4 million. Guess how much they're saying that might cost? 4. It's still another 4. I'm glad you guys said 8, because now it's less than you thought. Now I'm feeling pretty good about it. All right, let's go. The reality is, one of the things that most recently held us up from presenting this idea was I'm going to say it wrong. Thank you. The West Path Retirement Plan. I always want to say pension. That's the first thing that pops into my head. So the West Path Retirement Plan that cost us $1.2 million. The beauty of that, if you have not been a part of these all-church meetings, when that hit, we had been knowing that it was coming. We were building the reserves, knowing it was coming. We got some employee retention credits from the government for not letting people go during the COVID crisis. And we were able to pay that $1.2 million. We did not have to take a loan. We did not have to come to the congregation. Guess where the $1.2 million was supposed to go? To the building, okay? So to say that we're going to try and build that whole thing, would I love to do that? Absolutely. And if somebody can write a check for the vast majority of that, talk to me right now or afterwards. Or if you see this on whatever, come talk to me. We'd love to have that for the kids. The reality is I'm thinking we're going to have to phase it, all right? So to build phases. And so I want to show you the next slide of what a phasing might look like. So the red, if you'll notice, it extends over to include the education building. We're running into difficulties now. I shouldn't say difficulties. We would like to be able to have the ability to serve more children, more families now. As quickly as possible. And so one way to do that is to take 2 rooms that are currently in the education building that are not classrooms. Thank you, Jonathan, you are wonderful, or Gideon, whoever one is doing that. to have those 2 rooms available. In order to do that, one of those rooms is the office for AC/DC. And so to move them out and have the first phase be all the red things that you see, so 1, 2 classrooms at the top that would get renovated in the education building, the office building that is red in the center right there, and way down, if you look way down in the little, there's a little, that spot, there you go, right there, either one. That little red spot has a urinal in it. That's the word of the night. So what we're saying, it seemed fitting after the earlier conversation. We want to put a bathroom in for the playground so that people, when they come here on the weekends and whatnot, that if they need to use a restroom, there's a restroom available to them, that they can't get into the building, and that space is there for them. So what we're thinking is we would do a phase 1 that would include those 3 spaces. I have no idea the cost yet. However, the drawings are now almost done for actual construction drawings. The construction drawings give the ability for that to be given to contractors to be able to put bids in. So I will keep you posted on that moving forward to say what that first phase might look like and the second phase, because just in case, if something was to happen that we were able to get the funding for it, I really don't want to carry a lot of debt into the future. So just thinking like bite sizes to be able to say, is it a little bit of debt or is it no debt? If we can pay it off all in one fell swoop with the first phase, that would be awesome, because it allows us to achieve the purpose of getting the kids into those spaces, for AC/DC to have a brighter future as we're moving forward, therefore the church to be able to have that brighter future as we're moving forward. And hopefully we all get excited about that possibility for our kids, for our parents, for our adults who might be able to use that space, all of those pieces together. So the question becomes, are we excited? Are we excited about the possibility of doing something in a season, guys, where the church is struggling? And I'm not talking about this church. Financially, we're in a good place this year, right? But if you look at the culture, how can we present something different to our community that says Jesus is alive here? Jesus is alive inside of us, and we want more people to come to know him. And one of the ways we do that, the vast majority, the reality, if I was to ask you, when did you come to know Jesus? Were you younger than 17? Anybody? All right? Where's the people that were older than 17? Do you see it? Okay? The balance of people that come to faith in Jesus Christ are going to be in the children, youth range. It's when Jesus, if you think of his disciples, guess how old the vast majority of them were? They were youth, right? they were students that he was raising up, discipling to become the people that they became over time. And so how does the church continue to do that moving forward? So the hope is we will get to a place where our stewardship campaign for this year is going to be a 2-parter. One that will have more identity of saying what is the cost of this building, presenting this. I'll be probably talking about this in a sermon at some point in the near future to be able to present it to the whole church, but you got the little inside early scoop. And we do a sort of a double campaign. It has to be giving plus. All right, so it has to be giving, whatever your giving level is, we need to go above that in order to be able to pay for that building to be able to be built. And if we're able to do that, then hopefully a few years from now, we get to look at each other and say, here's some pictures of the kids. Here's the lives that are being changed because we did that. And then we've got momentum that's happening that causes the next part, the next phase to be able to come along. And maybe we're doing the next 3 classrooms that are happening. And then a few years after that, you've got something else coming along. And you've got a plan for Anona for a future that is not one that looks like this. It is a future that looks like this. Any questions about that thought process? Or comments? What do you all think? Exciting? Others? So be responsible in what we're seeking to do. And one of the great gifts we've got, it's not just finance committee, it is trustees committee. The people that are on these committees are top notch. Jeremy and I, we could not do what we do without the Mollys and the Susans and the Kevins and the Debbies of the world. And I'm not just talking about the chair people. You got also the people that are on those committees that just make such a difference for us to be able to think and to plan forward and say, we don't have to stay where we're at. We can actually become excited about something that we can do in the future that makes a difference, not just for us. Yeah. So for those of you who are online, she was saying that we need to recognize what ACDC does, that people do see that in ACDC, and that's part of why they're experiencing the potential for that growth that is happening, that their capacity levels are up to here in terms of the kids that they can service. Licensed care, you can only serve so many kids per classroom, right? So based on square footage and number of teachers you have, all those kinds of things sort of restricts you to what you can do. This gives an opportunity for us to invite even more people into that ministry. In case you do not know, almost every year they get 100% from the licensing board. It's just amazing. And when you hear the scores of the students, because we get to talk to the principals at the schools that some of these kids go to, and you hear about the readiness of the kids that come from Anona Church to Anona School, or from Anona Church to Oakhurst, or to Ridgecrest. It's just amazing to hear the difference that they're experiencing in the kids being ready for it. And once again, not just in terms of education level, but in terms of how they behave.
I just have to say one thing, because you talk about ACDC. My nephew, he's in middle school now, but when he was little, he went to ACDC. And it was wonderful for him. And when you were talking about the star, he actually was in his pediatrician's office when he was real little. And I guess he sensed that the pediatrician was getting a little jiggy or something, I don't know. And he actually looked at his pediatrician and told him to stop, take a breath, and relax. So they actually carry it outside of ACDC. So it made me think of that.
Sandy, did you want to say anything about the school or anything? No, I think you said everything. Thank you. I'm going to give you a microphone because I do want as the chair of the board for ACDC.
We started the school year. Today was the first day back for the third week of a very good beginning to school. So we are still, the 3-year-old class, as Richard said, is still over in the chapel building. And thanks to the church for being so gracious to let them use. They've set that up beautifully and it's working. However, they want to get into their room. We're ready for all of that to happen. So it's happening. One note that I would like to say is that Mr. Gary Meyer, who was a bus driver for us for 8 years in ACDC, a retired gentleman, died suddenly the end of expectedly and suddenly, and it has hit ACDC really hard. So I would like for you to just, keep them in your prayers, and if you happen to know the family of Mr. Meyer, give your condolences. It's a hard thing in there, and they're having a little bit of a tough time. But he was a very, very dedicated bus driver for them. And if you know anything about that, it's difficult to find a bus driver. They're only needed for a little bit of time in the morning and a little bit of time in the afternoon. And so it's hard to find somebody who's willing to split their day and do that. And he very, very much loved the children and loved being there with the staff at ACDC. So I just wanted to mention that for your information. But we're off to a great start, and we have, I believe it's 113 smiling little faces every day there at ACDC, and they are learning and growing, and it's a happy, happy, wonderful place. Thank you.
Any other questions? Are we done for the evening? What time is it?
Oh, no, there's one question.
There's a question? Yes. just in case you're watching tonight, Peggy, happy birthday, number 99. That is awesome. Thank you, Pat. All right, my friends, shall we close in prayer? God, I thank you. I thank you for every person in this room, the heart that they bring, the love that they bring, the ministry that they do, the ability to be able to say they are not just followers of Jesus Christ, but they want to act with him, to be present with him, and Lord, to bring that presence out into the world. I ask, God, that you bless each one of us to recognize the calling that is upon us, a calling that says it ain't about us. It's about those who are not in this room right now, the people that are within our community, the people that are forgotten, the people that need help, the people that need food, the kids that are in the schools, all of them. Help us, God, to embrace the calling that you've placed upon this church for this time. I lift up this leadership, the heart that they bring, and the love that every person in this church seems to have, not just for you, but for your people. Bless Anona United Methodist Church, we pray. We pray in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.